The first drops hit hot pavement, and suddenly the whole street smells alive. That smell is not rain. It is what rain launches. At normal speed, it looks simple. A drop lands, splashes, disappears. Slow it down, and on porous soil the collision can look like a tiny machine switching on. Air is caught beneath the water. Bubbles form and rise through the drop. When they burst, they throw a mist of droplets upward. That mist is an aerosol. It can contain water from the rain and material from the surface it struck. If the surface holds earthy-smelling compounds, the rising droplets give those compounds away off the ground and into the moving air. This is the missing step in the usual explanation of petrichor, the name for the scent people associate with the first rain on dry ground. Saying the smell comes from soil is true, but incomplete. A molecule sitting in dirt is not a smell you can notice from the other side of the yard. It needs transport. The drop is the launcher. The bursting bubble is the delivery system. That matters because it changes how you see a storm. The rain is not simply washing a landscape. For a few seconds at each impact point, it is converting a surface into a cloud of airborne chemistry. Researchers have filmed this process with high-speed cameras. In experiments on some porous soils, light and moderate drops produced especially vigorous aerosol clouds. Very permeable sand and conditions resembling heavy rain did not produce the same effect. That gives a real physical reason a gentle first shower can sometimes smell stronger than a hard downpour. Not because drizzle is more romantic, because the drops have time to make bubbles. There is a satisfying cruelty to the scale of it. The drop is huge compared with the tiny pockets of air it traps. Water closes over the surface, pressure builds, and the bubbles race upward through a miniature lake. Their final burst lasts a fraction of a second. Yet the resulting aerosol can drift far enough for a person to catch it as a smell. That is also why the first rain after a dry spell feels like a reveal. Before the drop arrives, much of the relevant chemistry is pinned close to the ground. After impact, the same patch of soil has briefly changed jobs. It has become a source of airborne particles. The aerosol is not a special rain perfume. It is a transport event. What it carries depends on what was already there. That is the difference between asking what the smell contains and asking how it reached you. The second question gives the first one a plot. During a dry spell, the surface has time to accumulate a record of the place beneath it. Soil microbes keep living. Plant material breaks down. Dust settles into tiny spaces between grains. None of that has to become a dramatic scent while it stays close to the ground. Then the first drops arrive, not as a new ingredient, but as a change of state. They wet, dissolve, disturb, and sometimes aerosolize what the landscape has been storing. This is why the same raindrop can have two jobs at once. It is water falling from a cloud, but at the instant of impact it is also a pump, a bubble maker, and a carrier. The chemistry does not need to be sprayed from some hidden source. The drop creates the route between a surface and the air above it. Now, for the molecule at the center of that earthy smell, Geosmin. Its name means earth smell, and it is one reason freshly turned soil, beetroot, and some drinking water can share a distinctive musty note. You do not need much of it for your nose to notice. In a complex storm scent, a tiny amount can still announce itself. The usual story ends there. Soil bacteria make geosmin. Rain releases it. Humans enjoy it. But that story leaves out the strangest character in the cast, the springtail. Springtails are tiny animals that live in soil and leaf litter. They are not insects, though they are close relatives. In 2020, researchers studying Streptomyces bacteria found that when these bacteria were making spores, they released geosmin and another earthy compound. Springtails were drawn to the odor. Then the animals did exactly what a bacterium cannot do. They moved. They fed on the bacterial colonies and carried spores onward, on their bodies, and in what they left behind. In that soil ecosystem, the scent acts as a signal linked to dispersal. The familiar smell after rain may include a chemical with a job. Help a stationary microbe recruit a traveler. For the bacterium, this is not a nice smell. It is infrastructure. A spore only matters if it can reach another place where it can grow. The signal attracts a mobile animal. The animal gets food. The microbe gets a ride. A scent turns a patch of soil into a small transport network. That finding changes the scale of the story. We usually notice an odor only when it reaches a human nose, so we assume the human is the point of the signal. In soil, the more important listener may be only a few millimeters long. The bacterial colony releases a volatile compound. A springtail detects it with its own sensory machinery. Movement follows. What seems like a smell to us is, for these organisms, information with consequences. And the spores do not have to travel far to matter. In a landscape built from tiny pores, roots, stones, and decomposing leaves, reaching the next suitable patch is a major event. The signal gives a non-moving organism access to a moving partner. That is a sophisticated solution, hidden underfoot, inside a scent most people only notice while walking home in the rain. That is the part worth carrying with you. The earthy note is not nature's candle fragrance. It is part of an old ecological transaction. A bacterium makes a volatile signal. A tiny animal follows it. Spores get a lift to new ground. And then rain turns some of that ground chemistry into an airborne experience for us. We are not the intended audience. We are overhearing the conversation. The exact conversation changes with the place. A forest floor, a dry garden, a city street, and a beach do not offer the same material for rain to launch. Before some thunderstorms, a sharper metallic note can also appear when ozone and storm airflow bring it near the ground. But the earthy after-rain scent begins with the surface below you. That makes an ordinary smell into evidence. Soil is not passive scenery waiting for weather to happen to it. It is full of pores, organisms, and stored chemistry. When rain arrives, the boundary between ground and air becomes active enough for your nose to notice. The same physics can lift other material from soil into the atmosphere, which is why researchers study rain-made aerosols beyond fragrance. The smell is not a warning that every shower is dangerous. It is a clue that the ground and the air are exchanging more than water. Recent work has identified a human odorant receptor that responds to geosmin. That helps explain why the soil molecule can stand out. The rest of the feeling arrives with cool air, dark clouds, rain on a roof, and whatever storms have meant in your life. So when the first drops strike dry ground, do not think of the scent as rain escaping a cloud. You're smelling the ground answer a cloud. This is reasonable wonder. Big questions, clear science.